Good morning, everybody. We're about to drop into the feed zone. We are about 58 seconds to the roll. We've got 8 riders in the pen. We've got a couple riders here on Discord. Just about to get this all shared out to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Just catching my breath here. Get a nice little recovery ride. Got 1.8 watts per kilogram coming at you. So hang on, have a good time. Join in on the conversation here. Right, we're about to go. Good. All right, everybody stays together as we roll out. I'll get in on our slides. Go. Nice and easy. We've got a sprinter. A little bit more. All right. Bad boy shared out. Get this party started. A pretty interesting topic today for everybody joining in. 6 tips for dialing in your sports nutrition. On the heels of last week's conversation of periodizing your carbohydrate intake during a ride, as well as it's kind of the different foods that you can choose for your nutrition needs during rides. Definitely very interesting in that respect. Kind of expanding on that topic. I think we're all shared out. Dialing in your nutrition. So, okay. Switch over to slides, huh? Good. All right, couple. Oh no! That's what happens when you hit the pairing screen. There we go. Put in. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Move over to slides here. Looking good. All right, welcome to In the Feed Zone. We are on at Fridays, 5:45 Pacific, 8:45 Eastern, 13:45 GMT. Friday mornings, wake up your morning with a little bit of nutrition tips and information. Here we go, we're headed out to the volcano. Going at 1.8, trying to keep everyone together here. I'm gonna pull up my notes, pull up our slides, get this conversation started. Make sure everything, yep, sounds good over there. All right, here we go. My name is J-Flow. Jason Flores, I go by J-Flow here on Lyft, so welcome to In the Feed Zone. Quick medical disclaimer that the only purpose of this live stream is to educate and to inform. It's not a substitute for professional care by a doctor, by the qualified medical professional, and it's provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice. Some of the goals of the live stream today are to present current articles in the media covering food and hydration and how it relates to endurance sports, to open a dialogue for viewers to ask questions, get advice, and talk about their experiences. Today's topic is brought to us by Carmichael's Training Systems, or CTS, and we'll be talking about six tips for dialing sports nutrition strategies during endurance events. Include cycling, running, kind of all the likes there. So we're kind of touching all the bases here. Right. So here's our overview. We're looking at examining the demands of the event. Finding your go-to foods, keeping it simple, some tips on how to do that, creating variety, examples, maximizing the accessibility and skills, essentially practicing finding your go-to foods, keeping it simple, some tips on how to do that. Second, feedback. All right, and then lastly is how to train your gut, or a reminder to train your gut. All right, let's get into it. So there are two kind of common ideas regarding sports nutrition for events. Of course, there's always don't try anything new on race day, and to try to find the foods and the drinks that work best for you as starting points, like during your training and that sort of thing. So although these are good starting points, you spend the months training for an event, it's really important that you put some more thought into developing your actual day of training, nutrition strategy in your training. So we'll go over a couple tips here. So as we kind of work through, we'll talk about our first topic, which is examine the event demands of the event. A recovery ride doesn't need the same nutrition, for example, as a race, obviously. So the questions become is how much energy do you expect to expend per hour? What kind of foods and drink will be available on course? And then also if you'll need to get more fluids or food during the event, or will you just pack everything self-supported, have everything on board as you go, which can definitely be something that you do. A lot of us do self-supported rides like that. And also, what will the temperature or the humidity be, so you can take into account if we need increases in fluid, for example. So some general rules to kind of get an idea of what we talked about here is in events that are shorter than 60 minutes, talked about this before, I'm going to prioritize hydration and electrolytes for consuming calories, and you'll start short events with enough glycogen to support optimal performance. So same thing that has gone for workouts at 60 minutes or less. You should have everything on board, and that includes FTP tests, which I just did. Everything was on board. I didn't wake up 2 hours before and eat, but also consistency is important in that respect. So meaning I do that the same every single time. In longer events, over 60 minutes, you want to replenish about 30% of the energy. You're looking at starting to fuel at around the 60-minute mark to make sure that you're getting food in. So you're looking at about anywhere from 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrate in combination between your in your bottle for hydration and in your pocket for food. Over time, you can adjust this depending on how you respond, and that's definitely where practicing in your training could be really, really important. So also separate the fueling or the calories from fluids. The fluid intake can change, and that's why it could be very, very important to making sure that you're separating your fluid and your food. So making sure, because sometimes you'll have all your food, let's say you got a ride that, talk about that, but you have a ride that you can't take fuel in, like through like whole foods, like even gels sometimes, like let's say a gravel race or something that you're not able to reach down and all you could drink is out of a bottle. You need to make sure that you're still getting water in to hydrate, or whatever your hydration strategy is, that you have that on board and it's available outside of just your fueling drink, if that's the response. We'll talk more about that as we go along here. So the next big tip is to find your go-to foods, and this is where things like Zwift, long rides here, Odie's entry that we have that goes 100 kilometers or 100 miles on the weekend, to try things out where you don't have to worry about being far away from home, really pushing the body. You find out what works best for you. You want to develop a selection of things that you know that will always work and that can be easily available. Not something super obscure that you won't be able to get or use. really key. Then take those foods and try to find things that are similar. So things that can work very similarly. Now, for example, let's see. Justin Wagner really enjoys, what are they? Oh, I have them. They're goo chews. And so there are a lot of companies that make these soft, chewable, gel type substances, which are nice. Gives you a nice mouthfeel. But there's also bonk breakers. Scratch makes some. So something of that, like a chewable, could be really good. And could allow you to make sure you can go across the board lateral to make substitutions if needed. So really just depends on what you like. So on the opposite end, you need to kind of think of or look to remember if there are things that you should never have or things that don't work. And so things that can give you stomach aches or things that are just too dense, like for me, like a full gel, straight down is pretty tough for me to take down. So I don't do it. And so I like things kind of like at a slower pace coming to my tummy. So for long endurance events, I try to include foods that you don't want that as far as never eat. Make sure even when you're fatigued that you're not reaching for that sort of thing. Some things that may sound great when you're off the bike may not sound so great when you're on the bike. So just kind of keep those in mind and kind of categorize things that work and don't work. You find something that works, it's good, but also try different things, especially with what we do here on Zwift. Definitely a great time to kind of try things out. So our next tip is about keeping it simple. So once you define these kind of core foods that you like or that work, as well as some substitutions, as well as the things you don't or shouldn't ever have, next is to make your strategy. Make it as simple as possible. Some of the coaches in the endurance lab that I've talked to, and they agree here with the article, is that it requires a spreadsheet that you tack onto your top tube. You have one of two things: your nutrition strategy is too difficult, or you're a triathlete. That's for you, Ian. All right. So if you're relying on this precise amount of nutrition, it can definitely kind of be tough to kind of follow, especially in the midst of a race. But I joke. But our triathlete friends do a very good job at making this work. Their form of racing is very specific, and they can kind of actually really dial that in really well. We have a lot to learn from that. So just being careful on the other rides, during the road race situation or something like that, for us as cyclists only, can be very difficult. So making sure you keep your mind kind of at ease, keeping it simple. So just keep it really basic in knowing what you're trying to put in, and knowing that you're meeting your fluid, your calories, and your electrolytes if you need them for the entire duration, whether it be 1 hour, 6 hours, however it goes. So adding more layers to makes it super complex, and it could reduce your chances of even completing those. So, all right. Next tip, we're on 4. You want to create some variety. So going back to your go-to foods, consuming energy gels, fluids, electrolytes, can come in all different ways, calories that is. You can use specialized formulated sports nutrition. You can use real food, which I like. Rice cakes with fruit, almond butter, things like that. Potatoes, fruit themselves, bananas, things like that. We've had some conversation about what works and what doesn't work, but something worth a try, especially for longer rides. Having a nice variety makes it so that you'll keep eating it and that you'll be looking forward to something coming up at the next time interval, I guess, that you'll make sure that you're having stuff to put down. So the thing about it is you can have the best plan, but if you don't eat it, it doesn't work. So if something's the wrong flavor, got a weird consistency, it just ends up in your pocket, and it's not going to help you there. So for longer races and events, of course, besides making sure you test it, that you like it, mix it up, making sure that you don't have all sweet things or all soft things. So between texture and flavor, make sure you kind of mix that up. It could be definitely to your benefit in your pocket. So if you enjoy having sweet things, throw some salty things in there, because sweet things after a while will not taste as good as it did at the very beginning of a ride or a long training session. So maximize your accessibility. So that's where we take the stuff that we test here on the bike and we try to move it over to what we do in the real world. And so you got to think about when you're out on a real ride, if there's going to be help out on the sag station or on the stations out, and what there's going to be out there, and then what you're going to have on you. So sometimes, let's say you're on a mountain bike, gravel ride, can't get into your pockets, you need to take that into consideration. So you have bars and things like that, you can't get to them, again, it's not going to work. So having, fuel in the bottle can definitely help. Making sure you've got all your calories here. A lot of riders will do that. Keeping it really simple. Caveat to that is making sure you're hydrating along with your fueling. In the case of a road race, or even a criterium, longer efforts, I find that riders who race typically aren't practiced enough to reach down and take a drink. So when you're at the local group ride, I recommend trying, getting down there, reaching down, taking a drink, whatever you're going to do, be able to do that in the middle of a bunch without having to stop pedaling. Practice that. So there's a lot of practice doing that. So even breaking it down to here on the bike, like not stopping the pedal and being able to reach between your legs and not fall over, and then taking that skill and moving it outdoors. So a lot of times you'll find different ways. You've got riders that will tuck gels and different things under the bands of their shorts, keep something close. They put them on their bars. People put bags on their bars, keep everything close. So I think it's really important there. So the longer event, you want to make it easier for you to reach out and get some of these foods, and developing the skills and the confidence to reach these foods one-handed, open the packaging, and also keep the trash. You don't want to be throwing all that stuff into the trailer wherever you are. So definitely important there. The last one, here we are. So training your gut. And this speaks to kind of the training side of things. And then what it speaks to is making sure you've tried things, obviously, but especially for longer events, you need to make sure that you're able to take in food for that length of time. So your stomach may not be able to take in, 2 hours, 3 hours of food. So what you need to kind of train for is to see if you could actually put that food in and continue to take in that sweet, that gel, that savory, that rice cake, whatever it is, be able to keep that in and take that in over the course of time. So taking a look at your demands of your event, consume large volumes of water, regulate your temperature, and then also to train your body for both fluid and for food. So these are things that can be trained, and if you don't do long rides with those foods, then your body won't know what to do when it doesn't have a meal after X amount of time and is on the bike and just trying to fuel. So those are things that you need to train while you're on the bike. So we're looking at anywhere from 60 to 90 grams per hour. And then as you start out, a lot of times it doesn't feel like you need that much. But if you know you're going for a long period of time, it is important to kind of throw that in. A lot of riders you'll find want to drop up to that higher end, but end up that you can't put in that amount of food. But again, it's about practicing, training, putting 60 to 90 grams in per hour before you feel like your tummy is upside down. So you need to make sure you have enough food to support your performance goals, and you have to train so that your gut can handle it. So there's no magic formula, but it's something that we need to try. And a lot of times, riders will not eat. I've been on rides with other riders that do something like 5 hours riding. They may have a couple, maybe 2 gels, 2 items, let's say, and then are wondering why recovery takes, days and days after the ride, and they're just sore, painful after the next couple of days. So I think working with someone, Pearson says, not eating. I'm pretty sure I overeat all the time. Yeah, and so that's a good topic actually. So a lot of times, we talked about it in the last 2, that because we train, we sometimes are on like the work and reward system. We feel like we did a hard workout. So for example, right before this, I did an FTP test. Let me check. My current TSS today is 95. I've been on the bike for 90 minutes now. And you would think, oh, that's a huge amount. But in the perspective of things, really what we should be doing is fueling around this event, meaning during the workout. I'll do something post-recovery. I'll do something during this. But the rest of the day, I'll try to make really sound choices in, protein heavy meals. For example, because I'm not riding tomorrow, I'll make sure that I'm not loading on starchy carbohydrates or things like that, because there's just not a need for it. Because the rest of the day essentially is sedentary after my 2 hours here on the bike. So something to really think about. So being okay with fueling while you're on the bike, and then making sure that you reward yourself during that time, and take into perspective kind of the rest of the day. So quick overview, kind of the 6 tips we talked about is examine the demands of the event, making sure that you're fueling for the right amount. You don't need to fuel all kinds of gels every 15 minutes if you're only going to be doing a Zwift race, which we all know running about 42 minutes long. So you could just prioritize hydration at that point. Make sure you find your go-to foods, things that you like, the things that you enjoy. Keep it simple, so it's something you can remember. Kind of simple marks, like every hour, every 45 minutes, something like that. Kind of set alarms or reminders. Create a variety, especially for long endurance events, making sure you're not just drowning yourself in the same food hour after hour. Savory, sweet, soft, crunchy. Maximizing your accessibility and skills. Practice, taking food out of your pocket, taking a full bottle out of your pocket. I think I always did too. Being able to put a bottle in your back and be able to take it out does take some practice. So there's that, and then also to be able to train your gut. So making sure that you've tried the foods for the length of time that you're going to be working out. All right, let me jump over to Facebook, see if there's any questions. Got a couple riders here, Jamel, John, Kirsten, and Ian here on Discord. If you guys have any questions, more than happy to answer. Really good here. All right, well, that's what we have for today. Thanks for joining in the feed zone. These are 6 tips for dialing in your sports nutrition strategy for endurance training. You can find this article at Carmichael Training Systems at the address below, and I'll put it in the links below also, and you can check it out. Really great tips there. Thanks for joining the feed zone. If you guys have any topics, remember everything I talk about isn't mine. It's just about a conversation to get information out there that's sound, and just to kind of pose questions to everybody so that they think about what they do. Kind of just hedging all the things that we see out in the media, kind of get an idea of what other riders are doing. So, all right. If there's anything else, let me know. But otherwise, everyone have a great day, and I'll see you guys next Friday in the feed zone.